Hi guys, so my most probably common question I get is how we afforded our big trip to the USA 2 years ago. So I thought I'd do a quick how we sort of did it last time, and I thought it'd be good to start maybe a monthly video on us booking our one for next year. Closer to date we might move it to weekly or something like that, I'm not sure. We'll go with the flow like everything else in our life. So first of all, with the last one, most of our money came from we were going to purchase a house and we couldn't get any finance. So, and Eric was actually in a car accident 2 years before we went and fractured his back, and he decided that since we couldn't buy a house that we would go on this holiday. So we had nearly all the money there from that before, so we then had to save up, I think it was another 10 or 12,000 over the, well, we were supposed to go a year later, but he didn't get medical clearance till the following year. So we did end up saving a little bit more, I'm glad, because it ended up costing a bit more than what we thought, because when we started to sort of look at booking it, the dollar was dollar for dollar, and when we went to travel it was like 90 cents for a dollar. By the time we got back it was like 75 cents or 80 cents, so big difference when you're changing quite a bit of money. So anyway, that's sort of how that came about. This time we're going to have to go from completely nothing to trying to get it all done in 1 year. So it's going to be a challenge, but you know, I'm up for a challenge. So yeah, so first of all, last time our whole idea in that trip was to drive from one side to the other. It was mine and Eric's, it was our wedding anniversary, our 5th wedding anniversary. We didn't actually go on a honeymoon, we sort of did, but all the kids came with us, and I guess I came with us that time too. So that was sort of our holiday-ish type thing. So yeah, so the plan was to drive across and originally fly back from New York, but when I went to do the one-way hire, it was like $3,500 to leave the car at JFK Airport and have them transfer it back. So we decided that we would drive over and back because it saved quite a lot of money. So that's how that came about. So yeah, so every holiday we do, we sort of have a theme. So if we go to the Gold Coast, it's generally just theme parks. That's another one we've done. Camping, pretty much just sit there and relax. So yeah, so we just sort of, so this next one is purely to go over to my brother's wedding, but we had planned on going for an extended time the year after. So we're not sure whether we just try and pull both off, or just do the one next year and not do the one in 2019. The one in 2019 was actually going to be for 80 days, so not sure if, I don't think we'll be able to afford to do 80 days, but we'll see how we go. And also Eric would have to leave his job, I think, if he went 80 days next year. So anyway, so I thought we'd do a run on how I started. So first of all, obviously pick a destination. So ours was to fly to LA and drive across and back. A lot of people recommended that we actually did Disney last, but we did it first because my thinking was, when we landed, we had these kids that we'd never travelled overseas with. We had 8 of them, not as well. We needed to make sure that they adjusted. So we had 10 days in Anaheim to do Disney, which I thought we wouldn't do Disney for the first couple of days. But funnily enough, the day we landed, they all wanted to go. So we went in downtown Disney and checked out all that and a few things in there. The Lego store and Build-A-Bear and all that. And the ESPN building thing. Is it ESPN? Whatever it is. The one at the end. And we sort of did all that waiting for our hotel, because you land at like 6:30 in the morning and you get to Anaheim at like 9:30, but you can't check in till 2, 3 in the afternoon, so you got to roam around like lost chickens. Jet lagged and everything, no sleep. But anyway, you got through it. All the kids did amazing. I can't believe they actually stayed up all day that day. So they pretty much didn't sleep for like 30 hours. I think they had like 1 or 2 hours sleep on the plane. But they did really well. Everyone even commented on the plane when we got off, because there was businessmen lined up to one side of us, and they were all like, had this shocked look when we sat down. But a few of them said, you know, they did really well. They were very well behaved, and they travel a lot and have never had kids behave as well as ours. So it was a very proud moment. So once we had sort of organised what we were doing, so we did the 10 days. So glad we did, because the kids actually got a stomach bug, and we actually only went there for like 2 days. So we went for 2 days and then had a stomach bug, and I think we attempted to go back one day, but it was 2 days before the 60th anniversary, and it was packed. All the lines were huge. The kids were still a bit iffy. They really wanted to go on the Cars ride, but it was maxed out. Like, it was on the 145-minute, and the guy was saying it was longer. Just the sign didn't go any further. So we had fast passes, but then I can't remember what happened. Something happened. One of them didn't feel well, and we didn't want to take some of them and not others, because that was mean. But now we think we should have done that. In hindsight, we should have brought season passes, because we actually had 5 days at the end of our holiday there as well. We were all perfectly fine, and we just roamed around doing pretty much nothing, trying to entertain ourselves for a few days. So that's probably my recommendation if you're going to do a longer one for like we did, and start in LA and end in LA. Maybe look at the season passes. I know it would have cost us it literally would have only cost us an extra $300 or $400, and we would have been able to go back there at the end. I don't remember why I didn't check it, but anyway, you're as wiser later. So next time, that was probably one thing we would look at. We had season passes for SeaWorld, because I looked at SeaWorld tickets around Christmas time, so just before Christmas, and they had a sale like buy a relative one day and get a whole season type ticket. So I got us all those tickets, thinking, because everyone was like, oh, it was great, and we actually didn't like it at all. We found it really boring. The kids loved it, because they went on that roller coaster like 100 times, and no one, like, they just walked around, went back on it, walked around, went back on it, and loved it. And they went on a lot of rides there. But yeah, I didn't find it great. It was really, really quiet the day that we were there. So I don't know whether that wrecked the atmosphere. I'm not sure. But other than that, so for flights, we booked our flights 11 months before. And our flights actually changed 7 months before. Qantas sent us an email saying that the flight no longer left at like 10:30, it left at 9 a.m. or something random. But then that sort of stuffed us up, because 10:30, we're almost 2 hours from the airport. So 10:30 we were like, so 9 o'clock we're going to be at the airport at 6 a.m. And they were recommending we be there before 3 hours before, because the amount of us to get through. So we were actually there at 5:30, 5:45, which they were really glad. But thankfully we were. It took me 40 minutes to fill out all those forms to get through the first little gate. So yeah, so I would recommend always being 3 hours early, because those forms were a killer. So we booked our flights 10 months before. We got really good deals. It was 8,000 something, It ended up being 8-8 because Harry wasn't born yet, and you can't book an unborn child onto a flight for obvious reasons if they were born stillborn or whatever. So he didn't get booked into the flight, and literally I remembered that I hadn't booked him in about 3 or 4 weeks before we left, and booked him on. So, and his charges were like $400 or $500 because it apparently was all taxes, but I don't know. But I only paid like $800 for the other kids, so for us. So I don't know. But anyway, it is what it is. We paid it. We had to. He had to come with us. And we were done. So that was $8,800 just in flights, or $8,853 if I'm actually want to be spot on my money. So I booked car hire at the same time as I booked flights. Car hire I found very frustrating. I don't know whether anyone else has booked car hire, but you can't pay when you book. You have to pay when you get the car, like the day you book. But then Alamo didn't charge our car until we were home for like 2 or 3 weeks. I actually had to ring from Australia and say, you haven't charged our card. And we rang several times while we were over there to say, look, you haven't charged our card. Can you charge it? Because the dollar was dropping, and we were like, it's costing us a fortune the longer you don't charge this car. So they were all like, oh yeah, we'll charge it, don't worry, blah blah blah, it won't cost you any more. And I'm like, it is, because the dollar's dropping. So the car is our biggest one that cost a lot more. So it was supposed to cost us $5,600 from when we booked it. It was dollar for dollar when we booked it. It ended up costing us $8,800, so just as much as flights. I almost died. So for 6 weeks we had a 15-seater. Now next time we would probably not get the 15-seater because it had no room for luggage, absolutely none. Well, the car we were supposed to get was a Chevrolet or something, and it had a boot. So we're a little bit disappointed. They changed to the Ford ones, whatever they're called. I actually don't know what the car's name. We actually nicknamed the car Ugly. So yeah, so we got that at a higher price. So that was all done 10, 11 months before we left. Everything else was done. So I was saving $400 or $500 a week for the holiday. From there, we paid cash for the flights. So every week, I booked a few because we had some money left over after that. I booked a few hotels straight up, our Anaheim accommodation. We booked one hotel for 10 days, and then we booked a different hotel, and we wished we actually booked that for the first one because it was a lot better, Stanford Inn and Suites. It's a little bit further down, but they had 4 queens, 2 bunks for all of us. So, and there was 10 of us at the time. So it was really, really good. And it was a connected room, whereas where we stayed, the hotel only had 2 queens in it. And they actually put me like right at the end of the building, and they put Eric halfway down the building. So I think there was 5 rooms between us, which was just really, really hard to organise, especially for 10 days when we were only like 1 day. We actually, one of the hotels I got on the 3rd floor and he got on the 2nd floor. That was annoying because you had to go up and down floors. But yeah, that was probably my own complaint on hotel booking. But so, I'm getting distracted as usual. So after we started booking hotels, so we'd book them pretty much straight away. It was the first and last, and we worked in between. I had an itinerary written down. I will show you it because I've got it here. So I'll try and focus on it. So this was our original itinerary. It did change slightly. We didn't end up doing San Diego Zoo. And all that was down the bottom. I just remembered that because we decided to go somewhere else. Can't remember. Anyway, so I had this written down. I knew the exact dates. They actually had dates in a spreadsheet written next to them, so I knew exactly where we had to be, and I would look on Expedia.com. I found it a great site. I booked all the hotels. I booked the first hotel, and I got an email saying, oh, you know, these areas have X amount off, 40 to 70% off. So then I'd look if they were the areas we're going to. Washington DC, I actually got for 70% off. So it was an amazing deal. We saved heaps of money there. I think the hotel only cost us like $1,200, and anyone that stayed in DC would know that that's like, and that's 2 rooms for 4 or 5 nights, if I remember right. So that was a great deal. That was probably my like top buy. Yeah, so that was it. Some we got for like $120 for 2 rooms. That was one in West Yellowstone, I think it was called. And one in Cody we got for very similar pricing. So we got some really cheap, good hotels. I just looked at the reviews there, and then we only had one hotel that didn't allow you to pay until you got there, so that was kind of annoying. And I completely forgot because I actually thought they were all, and when I rocked up late, it's like, oh, you owe us like $700 and something. I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. So that was one minor boo-boo while we were there. So I did that. So I booked that out of my $400 every week. So every week I'd have my, $400 or $500, and I'd be like, okay, now this week I'll book this hotel. So some of my weeks I didn't book anything because obviously I needed a higher accommodation. Because a lot of the hotels were only 1 or 2 nights, I usually got them at least one booking every week. And then there was one night we had no accommodation at all. So we just winged it. And it ended up being a really bad hotel, and we ended up going to Vegas early. So that didn't quite work for us. So yeah, we'll see how that goes again. But then we also learned that America, unlike Australia, has a lot of hotels, and that you can just wing it and drive. Because we did a couple of days were way too long. So from Nashville to DC, we found that way too long. We actually had a huge truck accident that we had to contend with that day as well. So we were detoured quite a way off the freeway, but it was a lovely drive. Positives of the day, but it was like 14-hour day. It was a really long day. But then the day that we left the Grand Canyon to Albuquerque, I swear that was only like 4 or 5 hours. And that day was too close. We were sort of like, oh, we're already here. So, and I hadn't actually planned anything. I hadn't looked up anything there, so I didn't really know. So little things like that we learnt. Food wise, a lot of the nights, so a lot of lunchtimes we ate out, because it costs us between $100 and $150 to eat out. We only did the one meal. We either had our free breakfast. I only think we had 1 or 2 hotels that didn't have free breakfast, which was great. And then for dinner, I would go to either Target, Walmart, or whatever supermarket or grocery store I found that day, and buy the trays of like fruit and veggies and ranch sauce, and they would have that for dinner. Like, they loved it. That's what they had. Other nights I got a roast chicken to have with it for a bit of meat and stuff, or got some salami, or I got some meat, like deli meat and stuff. So that worked out really well. Actually, a couple of nights I had hot dogs in the microwave. So yeah, but next time I'm actually thinking of buying not a slow cooker. It's like a slow cooker, but it's a fast cooker. I don't know what its name is. I'm having a mind blank. So that's how we did it. We sort of had a budget. I think when we originally thought about going, I think we were thinking 25 to 30, but then we had like 2 or 3 other kids. So it ended up costing all up. It cost $48,000 or just under. That was with everything: insurance, passports, spending money, food, fuel, car hire, flights. A few of the kids saw a doctor over there and it cost us money. What else did we do? We brought a lot of stuff. I pretty much did our Christmas shopping over there. I brought half of Toys R Us back in our suitcases. So all in that was everything. Actually, I don't remember buying anything for Christmas that year. I bought a few things. So yeah, all up it cost just under 48,000. I think a few of you have asked that. So yeah, so it was great. I don't ever regret spending that money. It is a lot of money. I think some people will be falling over. Actually, a lot of people. But we loved every minute of it. So we looked at the holiday as in not taking, because we used to go to the Gold Coast every year, a few years before we went. We didn't go the 2 or 3 years before we went to America, but then we went 3 years in a row, and that cost us 12 to 14,000. So if we didn't go for those years, we figured it was the same amount of money as going every year, but we just took it in one big hit. So when you look at it like that, it sort of works out, and it was something that we really wanted to do. The kids absolutely loved it and still talk about it today. Even Bella remembers parts of it. Everyone was like, they never remember, blah blah blah, but every one of them still remembers it fairly well. But I think if we were to do another holiday, that holiday would then become less in their memory, or if we were to do something else. I don't know how memory works in kids. So but Bella still remembers the castle and still remembers seeing Mickey Mouse and talks about it quite a bit, and she was Joel's age when we went. So and she's 4 this weekend, so it all worked out. So if anyone has any questions about anything or wants me to go over details in something, I will do maybe a video, as I said at the start, once a month on us booking. Maybe not once a month, maybe once every 2 months, depending on how we're going. Maybe just a quick recap of our plan for the thing. At this stage, we're thinking of landing in LA and driving up through, because we missed Hoover Dam. We sort of saw Grand Canyon in the quick, and then it started snowing, so we saw it but didn't see it. We saw one section of it, so we'll probably hit that again, and then do Monument Valley, and then up through Colorado, and then up. It's in the Midwest, so we'll go there, and then we might come back a little bit of a different way and down through San Fran or something. I'm actually not sure. Or down in Texas, because it's actually going to be like cold, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know the weather in America. Anyway, so that's our plan so far. We have a few different ideas on what we'll do, how long we'll do it. So we've got to nut that out. Financially, we've got to figure out what we could realistically afford to. If we can't go, we can't go. Like, my brother knows that it's a lot of money. I might just fly over and attend the wedding by myself. We discussed taking 1 or 2 of the kids, but who do you pick? Like, if you took Andrew and Caitlin, then Stephen would feel left out, because we generally do the older 3, the middle 3, and the younger 4 as groups. But then if you took the other 3, then the middle 3, yeah, I just think it would turn into a how come they got to go and I didn't type thing. So I think it'll be all or none. I'm hoping to go over at least. So yeah, so we'll get that done. So if you have any questions, comment below. I'm happy to answer. Like, subscribe, and share. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.